G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to, something that you guys have been part of this channel for 7 years now. Before there was NRL content, there was Doctor Who content. I've wanted to get this video out for a number of weeks, but this is finally some time to put aside to film this. I'm going to be speaking about Series 1. I prefer to call it Series 14 or 15, wherever we're up to, I think, 15. But obviously it has become Series 1 based on Disney Plus acquiring Doctor Who. I'm not going to be speaking about the specials. I already did a separate video on those, but all 9 episodes of Doctor Who Season 1, and I'm also going to rank them as well as a massive Doctor Who fan. Before I do speak about episodes 9 to 1, I want to speak a little bit about Ncuti's Doctor, because we've only seen one series, so it's hard to judge a little bit off one series, but we can obviously judge Christopher Eccleston over having one series as well there for him. So with Ncuti's Doctor, I think he did a great job with the scripts that he was given. I still think he was doing minimal work and needs to do more next series. I think Russell needs to realize that the Doctor needs to be the one, doing more for the mystery. But there were some really cool moments. I'll get to the whole crying thing, but I think there were some moments where it worked. I think there were moments where it didn't. But I think moments like the Empire of Death scene where he's screaming out of the TARDIS, there were some powerful scenes, and I think we're going to have some really cool moments in the future with Ncuti. But overall, in his first series, I think he did a great job as the Doctor. Thought some of the costumes in episodes like Rogue, The Devil's Cord, were really, really cool. And then I think for other ones, they didn't really work, like in the church on Ruby Road. I don't think he had I think he had a beanie on in 73 yards. But yeah, Ncuti's first season of Doctor. Congratulations as the new Doctor as well to him. And let's speak now a little bit about those episodes. So let's start off with what I thought of the series as a whole. I thought there were some really high moments and some really low moments. I think that since Capaldi's Doctor left, that Jodie Whittaker was trying to do as best as a job as she could, but she was given a really difficult, task ahead of herself with the scripts that she was given. I thought Chibnall had some good moments overall, but nothing compared to what Moffat and Davies offered as writers throughout that time. So this series for mine, it did feel like a return to Doctor Who. There was still flaws and issues, which I'll speak about as the video kind of goes on. But overall, this felt like a really, really fun return to the series and very Doctor Who-y compared to what we've seen in recent years, with a lot better acting as well. I think there was some good actings from the companions and villains over the Chibnall era, but nothing compared to what we saw in this new series. And I think there were some really cool elements, some really cool new monsters, which I'll get to, some new ideas, some setups that some had some payoff, some didn't have payoff, which is slightly disappointing, and that's why people will mark this series as a fail, but I don't think it is that. As someone who's watched Doctor Who for 17 years now, which is crazy to say, I was actually a really massive fan of the series that we got after getting, I think this was the best series since Series 10, and Series 10 was, 7 years ago, so it's been a long time. But let's kind of speak about the series as it goes on from kind of 9 to 1, what I thought of individual episodes. And in 9th place, I have Space Babies. I was not a fan of this episode at all. I liked the ideas that it was trying to create. I thought the children were kind of funny. There were some cool moments there. Nanny being a little anagram. Russell really likes his anagrams, doesn't he? There was some okay moments for this, but there was nothing fantastic. I thought the opening scene with the whole world going butterfly scene was strange. Everything felt off. And it didn't feel like a series opener. Series openers have to be a little bit oomph, even if they do fail. This was a storyline that felt like it was definitely a filler episode rather than a series opener. So I was really disappointed with Space Babies. I wasn't expecting too much from it. I think Doctor Who was very underwhelming for a while there, even though I enjoyed the special. So I went into this thinking, here we go again. I would give Space Babies, for me, probably a 3.5. Next up is an episode that I know a lot of people did really, really enjoy. Some people have it as their number one. And I think it was okay. But for me, in number 8, I've got Dot and Bubble. Now, Dot and Bubble, a lot of people said felt like Black Mirror. I'll speak about it. There was another episode this series that absolutely felt more like Black Mirror to me. I could understand what they meant. I think the ending of this episode was brilliant. I think the ending was epic. The way that they were able to bring in an issue that kind of still is there in modern day as well, and that obviously still being there in the future was kind of a massive reveal. I think the monsters themselves were a pretty cool design, but very, very wasted. I thought the concept of alphabetical order, that sort of thing, was very, very cool. I thought there were some things that I liked about this episode, but overall, I thought there was some real cringiness. I thought that the Doctor was doing less and less as the episode went on. I know there was communication with characters. Obviously, we saw, again, another character that Susan Twist was playing. Susan Twist, by the way, being in every episode of this series as an ongoing kind of character, which I'll get to that reveal there. And I know there's people that will absolutely love this episode. I did enjoy it. It is one I will re-watch. But overall, for me, if I'm ranking the series right now, Dot and Bubble has some great moments in it. But it just doesn't work for me overall as an entire episode above some of what we got, particularly later in the series. So for Dot and Bubble, even though I did enjoy it, I'm probably going to give this one a 5 out of 10. Next up is Empire of Death. Yes, Empire of Death in 7th spot. Now, I was really looking forward to Empire of Death. We had a lot of different questions throughout the series. We had Russell teasing, we had the Doctor Who official page teasing, we had previous actors and actresses saying, am I coming back this series throughout the year? And we're like, oh, could they be this mysterious character? Lots of mystery and a nice, solid, part 1 before it to set up part 2 with that being a cliffhanger. But there were some things I really didn't like. I thought the dialogue was really poor. I thought it was kind of disrespectful in some points to classic Who. I thought that Sutekh reveal was great in the previous episode, but didn't really do much for me in this episode. And the whole concept of wanting to know who Ruby's mother was really, really silly for mine. I thought there were some really cool moments for Sutekh, moving the TARDIS around. I thought the whole going to the future of 73 yards kind of again and seeing Roger Ap Gwilliam creating DNA. There were some very cool moments and ideas throughout this, but because it's so flawed, that takes away from the good. It also felt like it was becoming very predictable with scenes that didn't need to be there. It felt like a lot of other shows you would watch, e.g. Avengers Infinity War, a big reset button had been hit. And, for all the hype that we had, and we're going to get some answers, here we go. Yeah, we got a lot of answers. We also got a lot more questions, but we also got some really disappointing moments. I think the reveal, I think it works. I do think it works. I know people will disagree with that. But again, they probably shouldn't have set it up as big as they did throughout the series. And Empire of Death for me was a massive letdown. So that one I would give a 6 out of 10 because it's got some great moments that are memorable. But overall, it's probably, if not the weakest Russell T Davies finale. It's his weakest in a number of years. Next up in 6th spot now is one that I know a lot of people really, really, really enjoyed. I liked this episode, but I didn't love it. And it's Boom. And I know a lot of people love Boom for what it was. It was a really cool, interesting concept that kind of hadn't been done before with the Doctor stepping on, a landmine stuck on that. But as I said in a few episodes, it just felt like the Doctor wasn't doing doctory things. And this was another one of those episodes. Some really cool moments and some great emotion, some powerful scenes, some death, some dark moments. And Stephen Moffat put together a great script in what I think was a good series. And I think there were some episodes which I'll speak about above it, but I don't hate this episode at all. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I did like it. First watch. I probably do need to go and have another rewatch of Boom. I think I have watched it twice now to get a better understanding of it. But yeah, as I said, there was some dark moments. There were some nice family kind of moments. There were teasers towards the future. And it was a solid episode. but I'm going to give Boom a 6.5 out of 10 for mine. I know a lot of people will come at me because they had Boom at number 1 this series, but yeah, for me, I think I'm going to put it in 6th spot. Now, in 5th is an episode that upon rewatch and upon The Legend of Ruby Sunday, I think did more for me. And that's The Church on Ruby Road. Now, when I first watched The Church on Ruby Road, I enjoyed it, but I was slightly disappointed. But I think being the first episode with the Doctor and Ruby and this new kind of companionship that we're going to get over series to come, it set it all up. You had goblins, you had some weird singing, but, you know, there were some really cool moments throughout this episode. Again, I don't know if the Doctor's costumes were great. Some of the costumes throughout the series were really, really good, and some of them were a big miss. And this is probably one of the episodes where, at times, it felt like a bit of a miss. But it set up a bit of a mystery ongoing for the series. Who is Mrs. Flood? We didn't get the answer to that, obviously. But, you know, fans were speculating after the Christmas special. And it was great to have a Christmas special back because we'd had New Year's specials for so long. And I think this was the first Christmas special in about 7 or 8 years. So it had really been a long time. There was a lot of setup, which, as I said, it didn't have the best payoff for majority of fans. But there are fans out there who like this concept, similar to kind of Star Wars there. I enjoyed The Church on Ruby Road, especially more on a rewatch, so I do recommend rewatching it. I'm going to put it in 5th position with a rating of 6.5. Well, now we get into the top 4. Now, there's probably some episodes that you're thinking, oh, wow, he's got those in the top 4. Yes, I do. Starting in number 4 is Rogue. Now, Rogue is a Bridgerton-style episode, and I haven't watched Bridgerton, but I know a little bit of the premise, and I thought there were some great ideas in this episode, but I thought that the thing that brings it down for me is the villains not doing that much. Now, I thought the villains' design was probably one of the best this series. I thought these bird creatures actually wanting to take over the world, explaining their plan was really, really cool. It did feel goofy, kind of like in Aliens of London with the Slitheen back then, but I thought it was really cool to see an actual monster compared to like the man traps, compared to the technology in Boom. I think it was called it wasn't the ambulance. I forget what it was called now. And then Space Babies, obviously, I guess humans, I think, being the enemy there. But yeah, I thought Rogue was a great episode. I thought Jonathan Groff stepped into the role really, really well. I know there was a lot of theories about who it was, and it ended up being a new character that Doctor kind of had this romantic relationship with. And I think that's okay. I think Doctor Who has included that for a long time, as long as it doesn't overdo it and push it. The one thing I have about this series, and I think this series highlighted emotion a bit too much, and I think the Doctor cried in every episode, which was a little bit too much for me. But in regards to the relationship side of things, I kind of liked it. I thought that the acting was really good. I thought there was some nice. I thought the scene with I Just Can't Get You Out of My Head, I think it's a Kylie Minogue song, was brilliant. I thought the spaceship designs were pretty cool. Some hints towards the future, again, because we heard ever since the new boss took over, we heard the boss in the specials as well. But yeah, I mean, I've watched Rogue twice. It's probably one that I probably will watch once or twice again this year. I did enjoy it. It's in my top 4. I'm going to give Rogue a 7 out of 10. I mean, I liked the villains. It's in my top 4. It's got a nice little storyline. I don't understand why every episode they tried to kind of pretend to kill Ruby and bring her back. That felt a little bit silly, over the top, but yeah, some really cool moments in Rogue, and it felt memorable, and it's in my top 4. Next up in 3rd spot is a controversial episode, and it's The Devil's Chord. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like The Devil's Chord, but if you take away that musical number at the end that was awful, and I thought they were setting up this, there's always a twist at the end relating to a reveal later in this series, but nope, absolutely didn't do that. I really liked this episode. I think that the whole concept of getting rid of sound from the Maestro was really, really cool. That scene where the Doctor and Ruby are kind of hiding from the Maestro was cool. The Maestro as a villain itself was fantastic. Jinx Monsoon did a fantastic job in that role. I understand that people are frustrated that the Beatles didn't sing any Beatles song, but they probably would have had to get rights and things like that. And Doctor Who is on a lot less money, I think, compared to what it used to be on. In the budget, they probably spend more now on special effects and that sort of thing. But Man, I thought The Devil's Cord was a really good episode, and I thought everyone was hating on it for nothing. When Space Babies and Devil's Cord first came out, as I watched Space Babies, I thought, here we go again. I watched Devil's Cord and I thought, holy shit, I actually like that. I really, really like that. Saw everyone online bagging it out, and I absolutely disagree with them. And I think on rewatch, it's even better. I know there's that musical number at the end, but I think there's some great scenes. Even the maestro lifting Ruby in the air, the music playing, speaking about the oldest one, really, really setting up a great little storyline of reveal, which I guess was underwhelming in the Empire of Death as we learnt there. But yeah, I thought the villain did a great job. I thought some of the individual acting was really, really good. And the Harbinger setup being the first one of the series was really cool as well. So The Devil's Cord is getting third spot for me. And I'm going to give The Devil's Cord an 8.5 out of 10. Next up, it is the top two. So do I have The Legend of Ruby Sunday or do I have 73 Yards on top? I know a lot of people really enjoyed this episode and I did too. But there was one that stood out for me from the rest. And number 2 is 73 Yards. 73 Yards is a fantastic Doctor Who concept. Again, this series was at moments Doctor Light, and this was one of those moments where the Doctor probably only was in the episode for about 6 minutes total. However, there was a really cool concept of what it did, and I liked that we brought Kate Stewart, Ruby's mum, present day Earth, and a bit of a mystery to this, even without the Doctor. Millie Gibson was able to shine throughout the episode. There was some awesome concepts of villainy. You were trying to work out what was kind of going on with the... And I guess there's still a lot of unanswered questions, but Empire of Death did a good job at answering, strange things happen at 73 Yards, hinting at that sort of story. Obviously, Ruby doesn't remember the events of 73 Yards, which is really, really cool as well. I thought really, really freaky episode, and for me, as much as I enjoyed it, it felt like Black Mirror, and Black Mirror is a series that I love, and I thought as the episode went on, really felt like I was watching Black Mirror. I didn't know where the episode was going. At points, sometimes it did get a little bit boring, a little bit too dark, but overall, I thought it was one of the stronger episodes of the series. Really enjoyed 73 Yards. Again, lots of questions from the episode that will probably never get answered, but that's part of Doctor Who, and I know a lot of you absolutely loved this episode just as much as I did, and I'm giving 73 Yards in second place an 8.5 out of 10. Well, there it is. First place for me. I mentioned it. The Legend of Ruby Sunday. This was a really, really good Doctor Who episode. Now, you had some really cool music, you had some really cool villainous concept, you had some really cool, I guess, I'm trying to think of the word, but hinting towards the plot. The whole Mrs. Sunday and Cherry Sunday and Mrs. Flood kind of scenes, hinting towards the plot there. You had the One Who Waits starting to be revealed. You had a fantastic scene in the time window. You had callbacks to classic Who as well with Susan, the time window, the Third Doctor. There was Unit. There was some really, really cool, likeable things. Lenny Rush did a fantastic job as Morris Gibbons, I think his name was, in this episode. Thought he was a massive, massive high. I thought Kate and her interaction with the Doctor was fantastic, speaking about wanting to go and see Susan, hinting if there's a trap coming. It just felt so Doctor Who-y, and it felt like we were getting this epic, epic finale. The only thing this series that disappointed me a little bit was we never really saw the TARDIS land properly, and I thought that had to do with the villain, someone controlling the TARDIS, which didn't really end up being the case, just the groaning sort of noise. But we did see that in The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which made me happy. But yeah, there were obviously some moments of dialogue that definitely could have been fixed, but I'm not here to nitpick every single little thing about Doctor Who, and I really think that The Legend of Ruby Sunday is a memorable episode. I think I've watched this 4 times. I really enjoyed it, and I thought the reveal at the end, even though there were lots of theories online about it with people being correct, was so cool. And I've watched a lot of reaction videos where people didn't know who Sutekh was, and I understand that because of not watching Classic Who. As someone who has watched episodes like The Pyramid of Mars, Robot, those type of Tom Baker episodes, this was really, really cool to see. And there was even some foreshadowing in The Devil's Cord earlier in the series. So this series set up kind of what was to happen in this episode, as well as Empire of Death. But obviously, we didn't get all the questions answered in this episode. We had to wait another week for the Empire of Death. But the ending of this episode, I was actually at work when this episode came out. Me and Nan watched it at lunchtime, and I had to stay off my phone for 2 hours. And I had so much fun watching this episode so blindly, having no idea what was going to happen. And I thought that everyone did a fantastic job, and it set up a really, really cool finale and some really, really cool callbacks to Classic Who. And really, I guess it wasn't the very end. It was part one of the end, which I guess brings it down. But it was a great end to what has been a fantastic series. So I really, really enjoyed The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. Well, those are my rankings for Doctor Who Series 1, guys. I hope you enjoyed this series. Don't come at me for calling it Series 1. As I said, I'd love to call it something else, but that is what people are obviously searching for, looking for at the moment, and thanks to Disney Plus taking over, that's what happened. We saw a little end to Empire of Death about Mrs. Flood obviously going away in this kind of white coat, and we'll wait and see what happens next series. Ruby has left the show, but we already kind of know that she'll be coming back. But yeah, really strong return to Doctor Who. Really enjoyed myself. I'm now rewatching Series 3, the whole Master, You Are Not Alone storyline, seeing how that goes compared to the Susan Triad sort of things. But as I mentioned, the reveal in The Legend of Ruby Sunday was absolutely spine-chilling. Space Babies was a really low point of the whole show, but yeah, again, it was just good to have this series back after being without it for so long. And I guess week by week, it was quite disappointing. There'd be some weeks where it'd be really good, some weeks really bad. But this series, for the most part, really, really consistent. Let me know what you guys thought of Doctor Who Season 1. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Get your opinion going in the comments, and don't be afraid to blast it. If you didn't enjoy it, let me know in the comments. I'm really, really excited for the Christmas special. We've got a Christmas special this year called Joy to the World. The air was out of the balloon for me after the finale with excitement. But now that I've rewatched some older Doctor Who, it's just getting me more and more excited. So if you want to see more Doctor Who content, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well. Comment your thoughts below. You'll definitely see more Doctor Who video in the next couple months. Check me video with Whovian Comley. I did jump on his podcast, Super Whovian, and had a chat. I'll include the link in the description for that one. And yeah, that's it for talking about Doctor Who for now. And I'll see you guys later.